We've begun looking at ways to address this question, am I interested? One way is through games and inconsequential competition. Then there was creating friendly controversy, debates, and similar types of discussions. So there are two more ways to heighten student interest that we'll look at in this session. You can present some type of unusual information about the subject. After all, God created humans to be curious. That's part of our exercising dominion as we seek to find out about the world around us. For example, you could introduce students to the Mobius strip, a construction that has only one side and one edge. Or, if you're studying anatomy, ask them why knuckles pop. Things like this lead the students to want to find out more. So you can use this information to introduce and to lead into the lesson. And don't just do these things as the weird fact of the day, which has no relation to the lesson. Find some way to integrate them in with the content of the lesson. You could also have students research and collect interesting facts. For example, when you're starting a book in literature by Tolkien, have students do some research to find out interesting facts about Tolkien, more than just dates and birthplace, that type of thing. Keep those in an electronic format, so next year's students could use it and add to it. You might also invite guest speakers to your class, either have them come in live or electronically by Skype. The speaker can tell a bit about his area of knowledge, but also include some tidbits of unusual information. And let the students prepare questions ahead of time to ask the speaker. The idea here is to get beyond just the basic information of the class, the usual material, and get to some things that are going to pique the interest of the students. Finally, asking effective questions is a way to get students interested. It requires them to get engaged at some level and focus on the lesson material. Now, I have another series of videos on effective questioning, so I won't go over that here. But the key here is to get all of the students involved, not just the one to whom you ask the question. One way to do this is to ask the question before you call on the student. For example, you might say, "What is 2 plus 2? Billy?" You want to do this, the idea is to avoid allowing students to mentally shut down. See, if you say something like, "Billy, what's 2 plus 2? Well, when you say Billy, then all the rest of the students in the class know they're safe, and they don't even have to think about what you're saying. So you want to ask questions in a way that keeps the others thinking. Now, the picture that we have here shows students raising their hands to answer. This is not always the best way to do things because it allows a student to get by with not engaging with the question and not raising his hand at all, since if his hand's not up, you're not going to call on him. You want to avoid asking students questions in some pattern, like going straight down the row or going in alphabetical order. Again, these allow students to disengage until they know their turn is coming up. Instead, use some way to randomize who you call on. You might have their names on popsicle sticks and pull one out, or there are apps on your smartphone you could use. Or even better than this, you can get all the students responding to all the questions by using some type of response technology. With our BYOD program, for example, you can use Socrative to get all the students answering. So this means you can see who understands and who doesn't by getting them all involved. So now we've looked at the first two questions here in the lessons on engagement. How do I feel? And am I interested? These questions both deal with the issue of how you get students to focus on the lesson to begin with. How do you make it more likely that their working memory will be focused on your lesson material rather than on other things? Now, the third and fourth questions here will look more at how we can keep the students engaged in the material. Once we have their attention, how do we get them to stay focused on it and devote their mental energies to it? In the next session, we're going to look at this third question. Is this important? In the meantime, I encourage you to begin putting into practice some of the things we've already looked at. As you do so, you'll start seeing students become more engaged in the lesson.